realist, I'll post it. 1 second, dude. You don't.
Mind-independent realism means that your mind exists. Like you're talking about consciousness collapse. That's all physicalism. That's all materialism in quantum mechanics. That's all physical stuff. Like quantum information is a kind of physical information. He's still a materialist.
No.
What I'm having a hard time understanding. So you want to distinguish what imaginary and what reality?
Like I imagine unicorns, but they don't exist in reality, independent of my imagination.
Right. So if that's a true dichotomy, then whatever is not in reality is just not real, right?
Yes.
Okay, but you said that so the imaginary is mental, right?
So listen to it again. So either it's something, an idea in your head, or it exists in reality, independent of your head. That's the dichotomy.
What about beliefs?
That's in your head.
So those are not real? My beliefs are not real?
Listen again, either there are things in your head or there are things independent of your head.
But you accepted that which was not part of reality was not real.
I already answered this many times. You got to listen to it again. Listen carefully. Things are real if they exist independent of your imagination. That's what I'm using real to mean. So if it exists in your head, obviously the ideas are real, but the thing the ideas are referring to, like a unicorn, isn't real. The idea of a unicorn is real. The unicorn is not real. So by real, I mean a thing independent of just your imagination. Obviously, your imagination is real. I totally grant that. But if the thing you're imagining does not exist independent of your imagination, then it's imaginary. Your imagination is real. I grant you.
Yes. So when I'm positing your existence, I'm positing your imagination, your thoughts and beliefs and desires and whatever. Are those part of the world?
Your idea of me is just an idea in your head, and then there is.
So you don't exist in reality.
No, I do exist in reality, but
so is that dependent on my imagination?
Stop. Your imagination. You have an idea of me. Your idea of me is just your idea, and then there is also a me that exists independent of your idea of me. So you have ideas that exist in your head, and then there's a thing that exists independent of your imagination in reality, and that's real. That would be me. Unicorns don't have that. Unicorns just have the idea in your head. It's pretty easy to understand this. Like if you don't, you gotta be pretty dumb.
It's easy in the case of a unicorn, but if the proposition TJump exists, right? That existence is either going to be, according to you, real, the real kind of existence, or the one that's just merely in my head. But I would think that TJump is out in the world, out in reality. You do exist. Right?
Yeah,
independent from my imagination.
I've already answered this. Imagination is real. Yes, I have an imagination. My imagination is real and a part of reality. Definitely.
Wait, I thought you distinguished imaginary and reality.
It actually exists out in reality, independent of your imagination. So again, this is super simple distinction. If you don't get it, you just got your head up your ass. Like,
wait, TJump, I asked a related question.
Is your existence dependent on my imagination? Yes or no?
No, I'm a material thing with a brain and neurons.
But then I have a related question. I think.
But then your existence depending on you. So under your view, you would be imaginary.
Brains exist independent of my imagination too. My brain exists without my imagination. I exist perfectly independently of my imagination. When I'm sleeping, I still exist. Oh my God, magic.
Objects.
But the confusing thing is that the proposition I exist, according to you, would depend on my very being, right?
No, it doesn't. Stupid.
It doesn't depend on my thoughts. Don't depend on my thoughts.
I exist when I'm sleeping. So when I'm sleeping, I have no thoughts. I still exist. I have a brain.
Well, that means that you're. Well, in what sense do you exist?
I'm a physical brain. Like.
Well, why do you don't distinguish the mind and the brain?
No, I accept the consensus of neurology and psychology and cognitive.
Well, it's a philosophical question, not a neurological question. Right.
Yeah, I mean, does he believe in epiphenomenalism? Is that what it is then? It's just epiphenomenal?
I accept the consensus in cognitive science and philosophy and neuroscience and every field related to the brain.
Well, that's going to be a very poor argument against a dualist. You're not seriously going to propose that argument against a dualist.
Well,
the consensus is, therefore it is?
No, the consensus is a valid form of evidence, which is totally fine.
Well, I'm not accepting this.
I don't care what you
If I don't accept the authority of neurologists, then what kind of argument do you have against me?
Then you're an idiot. Like if you don't accept.
Wait, what do you mean by idiot in that case? Just because I don't accept your authority?
Yeah.
What if you don't accept my authority? Does that make you an idiot?
Yeah, if you don't accept the authority of the experts in the field who've devoted their lives to it and published papers on it, then you're an idiot.
Yeah, I don't know what you mean by idiot, right? It seems like
I
it
don't
just
care.
means that I don't accept your
care.
authorities,
I don't care.
right?
No,
Does
no,
that
don't
make you an
accept
idiot if you don't accept my authorities?
if you don't accept the authorities who will give degrees and who publish papers on it, and who research it in the field, who are actual authorities, like you're an idiot. Like,
Right.
go
So
to your
if there,
doctor and tell your doctor.
if there's some consensus that I present to you that have a set of degrees, right? If you don't accept it, right, then that makes you an idiot.
Yes, like if you have.
Well, the consensus that was Kant was right before hypergeometry. So was everyone an idiot then? Who
Yeah, it seems like
disagreed with Kant?
atheists were idiots back in the day, but the consensus changed in philosophy, so they just suddenly did not become idiots. That's
No,
idiotic.
the consensus in the past was based on religious dogma, not on actual evidence. Now
No,
it's
there were
based on-
many philosophers that were
no.
not, religiously affiliated. Like take the like Kant, identified as a theist, but he wasn't like by all means like a Christian. Like didn't I don't think he even attended
No, the
church,
consensus
right?
is valid evidence. If you want to disagree with that, you can take it up with science. I don't give a shit.
The point is that it's so silly to say that if the consensus changes, your status as an idiot changes.
Nope, it's perfectly fine. Like the consensus was before Einstein.
So if the
time-
consensus
Shut
changed,
up,
right,
shut
you
up,
would just be an
shut up.
idiot.
Shut up. No, it's the consensus changed. I
You're,
changed the consensus.
you're so dogmatic, man.
Gee, you have to give him a chance to respond.
So the consensus of physics was that time and space couldn't bend. They weren't physical objects. Then Einstein published a paper and made tested predictions.
So Einstein was an idiot when the
Shut up,
consensus
shut up.
physicist.
Shut up. So after he published a paper, he convinced the consensus. That's how it works. The consensus is changed by people publishing papers, which the consensus can look at and say, oh, look, we learned something new. The consensus is the most reliable source of evidence we have. It's better than everything else. Does it change? Yes, that's perfectly fine. You're still an idiot if you reject it. It is the most reliable source of data we have. I don't care what your opinion is on it. If you want to deny that the consensus is real, tell that to your doctor. Tell that to the engineers who build planes and cars. Take it up with them. Oh, could they be wrong? Sure, but they sure make stuff that works, don't they?
It's the closest
Yeah, no, but
thing to
then
the
Einstein, by that
unknown.
measure, Einstein was an idiot because he didn't agree with the consensus physicist.
No, he actually did. He published a paper saying this is my weaker position. I'm
Wait,
trying to convince the
Right before Einstein was Newtonian physics, like the accepted form of. I mean, I'm not a physicist, nor are you, right?
Every
But
scientist, what they do is they publish a paper to try and convince the consensus. They
did he
recognize-
go against the
Shut up,
consensus
shut
before he
up,
came up with
shut
his
up,
theory?
Shut up. So what scientists do is they publish papers to convince the consensus. They recognize the they are going against the consensus and saying, I have a weaker position because it's not accepted by the consensus. And we need some people to verify this to convince the consensus. That's the point of papers. Explaining to you basic science is just boring as shit. So if you don't understand the consensus, Google it. Don't waste my time. It's just basic science.
You said earlier that if I went against the consensus, I would be an idiot. But there are cases in which very intelligent people like Einstein
Nope, they
went
didn't
against the
go against it.
consensus,
No.
changed the
Again,
consensus.
again,
Excuse me,
again,
you're interrupting me. Just hear you.
I'm gonna
Right.
shut you up.
Well, the point is that then you have a further criteria. It's not just a matter of consensus, right? Einstein went against the
Freedom,
consensus. He's not an idiot. So
Hang on,
what is
hang
it
on.
that I'm doing other than not going against the consensus that makes me an idiot?
All right,
Okay.
done with this dumbass topic. No, consensus. Einstein did not go against the consensus. He said he acknowledged that his position was weaker. If you think your position is better than the consensus, you're an idiot. If you acknowledge the consensus is better than you and you're trying to change it, that's perfectly fine. Einstein was fine. Science is fine. You're the idiot. Next question.
You guys have been talking
Yeah, I
about the
muted him.
validity of bringing up. You guys have been talking about the validity of bringing up like a
I'm not
consensus.
done.
I'm
Ben,
curious
I
what the
can't be an
consensus
idiot
is
just in
about.
virtue of.
You're done.
What's the consensus about?
Consensus
what-
is the view of the experts who have assessed the evidence and looked at it and come to a conclusion.
But the
Look
thing
at